The Eucharist is God's greatest gift to the Catholic Church and to nobody else. The real meaning of the Corpus Christi, of the Eucharist, is really about real presence of God. A presence that confirms the love of God for us and our need for God. God really present in the flesh. There are many ways by which someone can be present. If you look at your wallets, you keep pictures of people that you love, and you carry them with you wherever you go. But that's really nothing else than paper and ink, just a picture. The presence there is paper and ink. In your homes, you have probably statues of people you admire or the saints or your heroes, but it's all wood or cement. We carry with us in our minds the memories and the images of people that we love, members of our families, our loved ones, but they are all in the mind, images, not really real. We carry symbols like rings and things that keychains that remind us of something and somebody, but they're not real. They're either plastic or wood or metal or anything. They are not real. People use symbols, to represent God, like grape juice and crackers. That is not really real, That is not really body and blood. Real body and blood is real presence, is in the flesh. That's the real presence. That's the most real, in the flesh. It's not just image or representation or picture or anything. In the flesh. In Greek, they call it sarkos, flesh, real. That is the body and blood of the Lord Jesus that He consecrated from bread and wine. That is the gift to us of God, real presence. So that we can actually embrace God and that God comes down to us in the flesh, that answers our longing for Him. There's nothing else in the world like that. And that's God's greatest gift. That is why today is most solemn celebration all over the world, celebrating the goodness of God who comes to us in the flesh, real. And the bottom line here is this, that human flesh, it's really about our destiny, our future, which is heaven. Human flesh cannot go to heaven by itself because we are made of earth. And when we die, without help, we go back to earth. For human flesh to fly to heaven, it should be touched by divine flesh. And that's the Eucharist. The Eucharist is our ticket to heaven. That is why it is so important for us, because it is about ourselves and about our destiny. That is the meaning of the Feast of Corpus Christi. Okay, now, so to really bring this about and to go into really concrete, actual, real connection here is we will go into the spirituality of the Eucharist. How can we connect with the Eucharist? How can we live it every day? Are we living it every day? How is it real in our lives? So we will go into discover what's happening in the Mass And we focus on the words of consecration of Jesus, read by the deacon in the gospel, and then later on here in the canon of the Mass, the words of consecration. We will focus first, zero down on the bread. Just focus on the bread, and Jesus said, I am the bread of life. When he said that, he really meant it literally. I am the bread of life. Let's start with that. And we will discover the words of consecration read in the gospel during the Last Supper. What did Jesus do? If you follow the words of consecration, it says there, he took bread. So the verb take, key verbs, there are 4 verbs here. Take is the first. He took bread. Then after, what did he do? He blessed it. Okay? He blessed. What's the first verb again? Oh, very few remember. Take. Take first. After take, what did he do? He blessed. Very good. You learn fast. And then after bless, then he broke the bread. He broke it. And then after breaking, he gave. Very good. 4 verbs. Key verbs. We'll start with this because this is really the biography of the bread. And this is also the life of Jesus. And you will find out later on, this is also our life. Followers of Jesus, we go through these 4 verbs. This is the biography of the bread. Take, bless, break, and give. Let's start with the bread, okay? I made a little research on wheat farming in Iowa, where 2/3 of the world's grain is produced. We feed the world with the grains. And wheat farming, let's start. Let's start with the verb take, okay? Bread. Now, wheat is a winter crop. Usually, harvest is around September. And after the harvest, very fast they prepare the soil in the fall and treat the soil, clear it. In the meantime, as they were waiting for the soil to clear and to be treated, the farmer is researching all over the world to look for the best hybrid seed, grain to be planted. All over the world, the best, of these genetic laboratories, of course, they don't tamper with it's against the tampering. But breeding, the hybrid are in northern Italy, places like Parma and Modena, where you get your pasta barilla, right? When you go to the market. That is where they breed hybrids. Now, the hybrids of the grains are judged according to how many bushels per acre and the resistance to diseases, how they resist diseases. And then, after that, the farmer makes an order. He orders. Talking about take. He orders and then temperature controlled. These grains are sent by the airport, the plane, and then temperature controlled, and these are all prepared to be sown in the field in the fall. Talking about take, how they really set aside the good seed, treat it, and perfect combination of hybrid, and then treating it and planting it, taking. It takes time to take. Okay? Then, once it is planted, it sleeps the whole winter. And then, March, the beginning of spring, with the rain and heat, you see little yellow, flimsy leaves sprouting out of the ground. They're waking up, and then it will shoot up to the air, and then the center becomes a little bulky, and then it will burst, shooting up to the sky. The seeds are not yet ripe, but they are straight up to the sky. It will take a couple of months with air and water and sun to turn it into gold. Talking about blessing. See? Take, bless, temperature, care of the farmer, water, until it is blessed, and it will turn gold at the height of summer. Gold, it will become golden. You know, the grains are now mature. So we have take and then bless. Then how do you know the best time to harvest? When the grains start to bow down, because they're already heavy. The grains start to bow down. Take your combine and harvest fast. Because if you don't, the rains of summer, like the rain, will push it to the ground, and it is impossible to harvest it. It will rot there. So harvest it fast. Talking about breaking, right? How do you, in the ancient times, how do you harvest? After the harvest, what do the farmers do? They put them together, they tie them together, the stalks, and then they thresh them to the ground. And then after threshing, they beat them to the ground so the grains are separated. And then the grains are sent to the mill where they are broken down again and thrashed again and threshed again. Talking about the arrest of Jesus in Gethsemane. You remember the scene of the arrest? Like the wheat, he was tied down also. And then he was slapped and kicked, like threshing the grain. Talking about breaking. Do you follow? The scourging of the pillar, the passion of the Lord. Okay? Until the whole flour is milled and totally refined and then repackaged. And you go to Winn-Dixie, to Aldi, and to Walgreens to buy when you want to bake. Right? What happens when you bake? You clear the counter, you put water on it, and then you put the flour. What do you do with the flour? You slap it. Right? And then you do all the kung fu and the karate on the flour. And there are sweats in your forehead. Sometimes they mix with the flour. It's part of the seasoning, you know. But that's kneading, you know. When you bake, you really exert all your effort. And then the flour is totally dead on the counter. Flat, dead. Because you slapped it, you know, and you kicked it. And then what happens? You shape it. You shape it. As in burial. You brush butter on it, like the ointment that you put on the body of the dead. And then you heat your oven and you put the shaped flour in the tomb. From the flat, dead, shaped flour, it will rise. Do you follow? Do you follow? It will rise. Don't touch it, it's still hot. Okay? Then what do you do when it's cold? You pick it out, you break it, and then you eat. It gives you life. That's the life of Jesus. Perfect, in exact representation of the life of Jesus. What happened? That's why Jesus said, I am the bread of life. Literal. Every meaning, everything that the bread underwent, that is his life. But the most important thing here, if we look at ourselves, it's the same thing. You know, God took us It took time to create us, knitted us in our mother's womb, Psalm 139. In the darkness, God fashioned us. And then He took the taking, right? Take. And then when we are born, blessing, family, friends, neighbors, our education, our blessings that God gave us. And then comes the breaking. What are these breaking? Our pains, our illnesses, our struggles, our responsibilities. But thank God for this breaking, because it's only by experiencing breaking, that we begin to empathize with the pains of other people. Like bread, you cannot give unless you have to break it. Every time we do something good for others, every time we commit something for others, a part of us is broken. A part of us is broken so we can give life, like the bread. You cannot eat bread, you have to break it. That's what happened to Jesus. That's happening to us. That is the relevance and meaning of the Eucharist. Like a mother who said, Father, this year the cruise is postponed because my grandson is going to college. That's Eucharist. Living the Eucharist. Every time we open our pantry, get something for the poor and bring it here, in spite of the rain and difficulty, that's the Eucharist. Part of us is being broken so we can give life. We are living the Eucharist every day. Go back to the key verbs. Take. Next one. Bless, broken, and given so we can give life. Welcome to the Eucharist.